Well, the rain's starting to become even more of a factor as it comes down even harder than it was earlier. Not as cold as we expected. Temperatures at right around 50 degrees and also winds. Something that these two teams will have to contend with. There's the one-time head coach of the Bills, now with Jacksonville, Mike Mularkey, 2 years. We'll get into that story as this afternoon progresses. And his counterpart, Chan Gailey, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills, now in year 3 in Buffalo, and really under fire this week after a disappointing loss last Sunday against Indianapolis.
And you can see that rain, Spiro. I'll tell you, if you're a player, you would almost prefer it to be a little bit colder so that rain would turn to snow. Snow is actually better than rain if you're a football player because the snow is not as wet. Look how that rain is coming down and how it's going to affect this game today.
Quan Cosby signed to a contract just a couple of days ago to return the kick from Ryan Lindale as we're underway here in Buffalo as Cosby lunges forward across the 20 and brought down at about the 22-yard line. And that's where we'll start. Chad Henne onto the field. Henne winning as a starter in the NFL last Sunday for the first time in nearly 2 years. You'll see his completion percentage and statistics over the last couple of games, over 600 yards and very few mistakes. Just 1 pick to his 6 touchdowns thrown.
What he's done, Spiro, to this offense, he's taken charge, and he's making it his own offense, establish himself as a leader.
1st and 10 from the 22. This is Rashad Jennings, the 4th-year player, former 7th-round pick. Back in a starting role today with the injury to Jalen Parmalee, who went down last week with that groin injury. Starters in front of Henne today. Mike Brewster, the undrafted rookie out of Ohio State, makes his 7th career start. Backs and receivers for Jacksonville who come in at 2-9. We mentioned Jennings, Parmalee, a pretty gruesome groin injury. The groin muscle nearly tearing completely off the bone. Left the game, came back, but they placed him on season-ending IR this week. This is 2nd and 5. Henne faking the pitch, throwing on the run, and it's incomplete at the 40. Intended for Cecil Shorts. And the coverage on the play by the rookie strong safety Ron Brooks.
Oh, great play by Ron Brooks, just closing on this. Chad Henne, I think, thought he had a nice shot at completing this ball on the sideline to Cecil Shorts, but good coverage right there, making a break on the football. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Buffalo Bills can move the ball through the air today.
And you see Jacksonville, they've had issues scoring on their opening possessions of games. This is 3rd and 5. They spotted from the 27. Henne from the gun. The pass kind of flooded out. It's incomplete. Intended for Jordan Shipley, who's playing just his 2nd game with the Jaguars. And Jacksonville will punt.
Well, you see the effect of the moisture right there, Spiro. That ball was thrown well by Chad Henne. Shipley was open. Probably would have been a first down, but the ball, just that little film on the ball of water, moisture, that ball squirted right through Jordan Shipley's hands.
Leotis McKelvin back deep to return. And again, you can see the rain coming down. Brian Anger on the punt from his own 16. McKelvin fielding from just out past the 20 and run out of bounds just inside the Buffalo 34-yard line. So Ryan Fitzpatrick onto the field. Fitzpatrick just 5 and 15 in his last 20 starts. Disappointing finish at the Colts last Sunday. The statistics good in a sense that the interceptions are down. He's been, as Steve alluded to earlier, kind of a gunslinger in years past. But the question now is, will Fitzpatrick have to open it up here as Buffalo really in a position where they need to win out over the final 5 games of the season? Fitzpatrick from the shotgun on 1st and 10 from the 33. This is Spiller across the 35 before he was met by a host of tacklers led by the former Bill, Paul Posluszny. Starters in front of Fitzpatrick today, Eric Wood, the 4th-year center out of Louisville, former 1st-round pick in 2009. He's been their best offensive lineman, but injury-prone over the past couple of years. Meantime, TJ Graham getting the start, his 8th career start for the rookie. Donald Jones, a late scratch in this game with a calf injury. That caused him to miss most of practice this week. After a pickup of 2 by Spiller, it's 2nd and 8. It's Patrick's pass intended for Stevie Johnson off of his hands. And it will be 3rd and long coming up.
What? You could see that ball just kind of squirt out of his hand funny there, Spiro, too.
Oh, we mentioned Jason Babin, the big signing, as the Jaguars try to aid what has been a dormant pass rush up till this point. Tied for fewest sacks in the NFL. Paul Posluszny spent the first 4 years of his career here with the Bills. Returns today for the first time. And the back end of the Jacksonville secondary featuring Aaron Ross back in the starting role today as Rasheed Mathis is up, will play, but not getting the start. Fitzpatrick trying to keep the play alive with his legs, lunges for the first down across the 45 after a pickup of 11.
Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick is a fearless competitor on the football field, much more athletic than I think people give him credit for. He has a lot of confidence in his ability to run the football, felt some pressure up the field and just turns, knows exactly where he's got to get. And one thing you'll see about Ryan Fitzpatrick, you don't see him doing the traditional slide very much. He's going to fight for every extra yard. That's one of the reasons why his teammates love him so much.
C.J. Spiller, the lone running back, on 1st and 10 from the 47. Spiller again averaging nearly 7 yards per rush. Goes for 8, maybe 9 on that play. Tackle made by Posluszny and Harris. Spiller, the 9th overall pick in the 2010 draft.
Well, the ability to cut back and really feel the soft spot is one of the things that really separates C.J. Spiller. Then you combine that with his acceleration. If there is a seam or a gap, he sees it, he feels it, and he explodes, gets to his top speed so quickly that I think a lot of times defenders misjudge just how fast he is.
Spiller last week over 100 yards, 6th straight game in which he's gone for 100-plus yards from scrimmage. Longest Bills streaks is Thurman Thomas back at 1992-93. This is 2nd and short. As Buffalo moves the chains again close to the 40. And Steve, you alluded to it at the top. You know, this kind of weather, not only the rain, but the wind as well. The running game expected to be a huge factor, and that's been one of a few bright spots for Buffalo's offense.
No doubt. One of the things that I think we're going to see more of today because of these conditions, because it's so conducive to running the football, we're going to see more of Fred Jackson, I believe, because Chan Gailey, despite the fact that C.J. Spiller is averaging well over 6 yards a carry, does not want to overwork him because he feels like there is that point of no returns with C.J. Spiller.
Chandler, the tight end, in motion on 1st and 10. Spiller on the tape again. Spiller, so dangerous as he tries to get into the flat. Finally forced out of bounds inside the 40.
Number 75.
This one coming back.
Offense, 10-yard penalty, still first down.
That's the left tackle, Chris Hairston, the 2nd-year player out of Clemson, to negate the run by Spiller.
You know, one of the things that it's hard for an offensive lineman to learn, and as C.J. Spiller gets more experience and more comfortable with these offensive linemen, remember, he's still a young running back in the NFL. They'll learn to understand exactly what he does and how he responds to different situations. Sometimes an offensive lineman does not expect the running back to be able to get to a certain area, and he'll grab onto a defender thinking the defender is coming free when actually Spiller has already made it to the edge.
Spiller spelled by Fred Jackson for the first time. This is 1st and 20. And again, Fitzpatrick unable to connect with Johnson. That one going right through Johnson's fingertips.
Well, this is a ball that Stevie Johnson should catch, but you can see already this is the 2nd or 3rd ball that we've seen thrown out of only 3 or 4 balls. That is, look at that ball fluttering in that wind and in the rain, and Stevie Johnson not able to squeeze that football. The ball, even though these guys are wearing gloves and it's not tremendously cold out here, that ball is slick, and you've got to almost use your body more to make sure you secure that football.
Johnson last Sunday, his first 100-yard receiving game since December of 2011. With a shaky start here. This is 2nd and 20. Fitzpatrick all day to throw, airing it out over the middle, and he's caught the rookie Graham, and he's down at the 1-yard line. A picture-perfect pass from Fitzpatrick as they ring him up for 51 yards.
This is a really nice throw, especially considering the conditions. That ball came out of Ryan Fitzpatrick's hands perfectly. He read the coverage. They got the coverage that they wanted. And as a result, Kevin Rutland got beat for the big play over the top. And he finds himself on the bench.
Graham again making the start today for the injured Donald Jones. First and goal from inside the 1. Jackson. Stuffed. Now the Jaguars defense that has been up and down this season, trying to hold here.
Well, this is a Jaguars defense that, when you look at them in the red zone, they're top half of the NFL for sure. They do a good job as far as percentage-wise, but they've allowed more people into the red zone than anybody else in the NFL, so it's kind of skewed a little bit.
Buffalo has really struggled, as you saw that last graphic, in the red zone, but they'll punch it in. Ryan Fitzpatrick from 1 yard out, and Buffalo takes the lead.
Well, you see the push up front, quarterback sneak, and you saw the play before that. There was just not a lot of surge either side of the football, just kind of a stalemate. That time right there, with the offensive line knowing that Fitzpatrick's going to take it right up the gut, they got some good push. He was able to easily cross that goal line for the first score of the day for the Buffalo Bills.
First rushing touchdown of the season for Ryan Fitzpatrick. Point after by Ryan Lindell is perfect. 7-0 Buffalo. Fitzpatrick going right down the middle, 51 yards to the rookie Graham, setting up the 1 yard burst. An impressive opening drive for Ryan Fitzpatrick in Buffalo. They go 9 plays, 66 yards in just under 5 minutes. The 51-yard pass play setting it up. Fitzpatrick to T.J. Graham. And that came, Steve, as you pointed out during the break, on a 2nd and 20 play. Quan Cosby taking it off a bounce from inside the 10. Cosby across the 30, still going. And forced out of bounds by the kicker, Ryan Lindell, as they will spot it here at about the 38-yard line. So Chad Henne will hit the reset button, their offense back onto the field. When we come back, you're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. The all-new Honda Accord. It starts with you. And by Verizon. Share the holidays with the Share Everything plan.
Chad Henne and his Jacksonville offense onto the field. Good field position to start here. 1st and 10 from just inside the 38. On first down, they find the tight end, Marcedes Lewis. As Lewis forced out just short of that first down marker after a pickup of 8. Starters for the Buffalo defense up front. Kyle Moore making his 4th straight start. Mark Anderson still on the shelf with injury. Moore, the 4th-year man out of USC. Linebackers featuring Nick Barnett, a one-time Green Bay Packer, the Bills' leading tackler, entering this one today. In the back end of that Buffalo secondary, Leotis McKelvin making the start. Al Williams a scratch, out with a knee injury. This is 2nd and 2. Jennings trying to go right over center. Tackle made by Kyle Williams. Williams, the heart and soul of this Buffalo front. This vaunted Buffalo front, Steve, that struggled early on with Mario Williams, dealing with that wrist injury. Mark Anderson's been in and out of the lineup, but as we touched on at the top, starting now to play the way they were expected.
Yeah, and when Mario Williams is playing at a high level, he's still restricted by that left wrist injury. He's wearing a cast. He can't move around as much as he'd like. But when he is playing at a high level, it opens up so many other options for that defense. Dave Wannstedt can get very creative with how he uses the rest of his personnel.
Henne on 1st and 10. Then we've seen the ball kind of flutter out a couple of times. Both quarterbacks trying to deal with the wetness here So Buffalo off to a good start, and Buffalo still feels like they're into it, even after that disappointing finish. Here is what the AFC wildcard picture looks like. They're right at the bottom of your picture as they chase both the Colts and the Steelers. And that loss, Steve, last Sunday was so huge. They win that game. They're 5-6 and right in the thick of things. But now in a position where they feel like they need to win out over the final 5 games, including this one today.
And you can sense in the conversation that we had with pretty much everybody we talked to for Buffalo in the Buffalo Bills facility yesterday, the disappointment with losing that game last week. They really felt like they could get that one in Indianapolis and get themselves on a roll here to finish out the season. A big difference between being 5-6 and 4-7. But Chan Gailey said bottom line is, hey, we are where we are. We've got 5 games to go. Keep the faith to see if we can do it. And who knows how these chips may fall. They're on the outside looking in, but it could happen.
Henny on a big 3rd and 5 play from the Buffalo 48. Justin Blackmon, the intended target pass, wasn't even close as Buffalo's defense once again gets off the field.
Yeah, good coverage on that play by Justin Rogers and Brian Scott up the field. Chad Henne really had nowhere to go. The protection was good. He had time to survey the field, but good coverage all over the place and another nice stop by the Buffalo Bills D.
So Chad Henne making his 2nd start after Blaine Gabbert was placed on injured reserve. Gabbert undergoing season-ending shoulder surgery on his left torn labrum. As Leotis McKelvin signals for the fair catch inside the 10 after a 36-yard punt from Brian Anger. Ryan Fitzpatrick onto the field. Buffalo out in front. 7-0 here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Oh, you vote, they play. Send your favorite players to the 2013 Pro Bowl in Hawaii. Vote online or with your mobile device at NFL.com/Pro Bowl or text Pro Bowl to MyNFL. Back with you from rainy Buffalo, 7-0 Bills. With just over 7 minutes to play in this first quarter. Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you for this Week 13 AFC matchup between Jacksonville and Buffalo. First and 10, Fitzpatrick to Jackson. Jackson struggling for minimal yardage. George Selby on the tackle. So Buffalo out in front, 7-0, just 4-7 coming in. Steve trying to give this loyal fan base something that they have been so starved for a year. As you see Jackson's numbers, this is a Buffalo franchise that has not made the playoffs since 1999, the longest streak in the NFL. These fans waving the elements here, as they do every December. Fitzpatrick on 2nd and 10. Nice catch by Graham. Pass was thrown a bit high. Graham had the big 51-yard reception earlier and picks up a couple there. Let's head to New York, get an update with James Brown.
Ridley, big help for the Patriots.
Well, this is 5 straight games now with a rushing touchdown, 2 yards out. First drive, Patriots take the lead 7-0 with a win. New England will win the AFC East.
Spiro and Steve.
Those Patriots are making it look easy on offense, aren't they, Spiro? I mean, it's impressive what they're doing down there.
Well, the year started with Buffalo hoping to challenge New England in the AFC East. And things certainly not panning out that way. This is Fitzpatrick from the gun on 3rd and 7. Boy, threw a strike right into Chandler's chest. Fitzpatrick has talked about the trust he's built with Chandler, but not on that play. They'll have to punt.
Well, Scott Chandler, one of the very best receivers in the NFL on 3rd down. 26 of his 31 receptions were for first downs this year so far. But right there, I don't think he's had any this year thrown better than that ball was thrown by Ryan Fitzpatrick. A nice throw in the elements, no excuse for Chandler not to catch that football.
So Buffalo will punt. This is Sean Powell, the rookie of Florida State. Juan Cosby fielding from his own 24 and dumped down right after the catch by Brad Smith. And so Chad Henne and company will start right at their own 30, 61-yard punt from Powell.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Lego. Build a moment together, one Lego brick at a time. And by Acura. Acura. Advance.
Jacksonville on 1st and 10. Keep it on the ground. Late marker thrown behind the line of scrimmage. Rashad Jennings on the take.
Holding. Number 63 offense. 10-yard penalty remains. First down.
A penalty on the center, Brad Meester. Pete Morelli, our referee here today. One injury note, Steve, as you take a look at Meester. Leotis McKelvin, the starting quarterback for this Buffalo defense, is being stretched out in the Bills locker room with what they are calling a back injury. And here it was on the first punt return early. You see him kind of pull up, hobbled a bit at the end of the play. And this is already a thin secondary for Buffalo's defense. That's a huge injury as they try to get McKelvin back on the field.
In many ways, he's their big-time punt return, #1 in the NFL, as well as starting the defensive back.
And a dangerous pass on 1st and 20. It's caught by Marcedes Lewis, but Marcus thrown. They go for 23 yards, but now we await the penalty.
This is a matchup that Mike Mularkey, head coach, really liked going into the ball game.
Illegal contact. Number 43, the defense. The penalty is declined. The result of the play, first down.
Oh, that's a penalty on Brian Scott, and that's the guy that Mike Mularkey said he felt would be matched up all day on Marcedes Lewis, and the huge size advantage. Marcedes Lewis, 6'6", 272 pounds, and right there, Chad did a nice job laying it right over the top of Brian Scott. I think Marcedes Lewis is going to have a lot of balls thrown to him today.
Lewis coming in, just 33 receptions on the season. This is 1st and 10. Jennings unable to turn the corner. Buffalo with a host of tacklers on the play. Carrington among them. The third-year man out of Arkansas State. So now set up a 2nd and 8. And that's one element on the last throw by Henne, Steve, that he has brought. He hasn't been afraid to try to jam the football into those seams. And he's been very successful.
Well, he's making good, quick decisions, and he's been very accurate with the football. And that's one thing that maybe Blaine Gabbert hadn't been doing so well.
And on play action on 2nd and 8. Pass a bit low, intended for Blackman. And it'll be 3rd and long coming up. Well, tomorrow, to succeed in business, the girls will need some special help, especially when they have uninvited guests. A new 2 Broke Girls tomorrow, only CBS. In the rain and wind here in Buffalo, 7-0 Bills. Late stages, first quarter. Chad Henne and Jacksonville looking for a 2nd straight win. This is 3rd and 8. First down, a fumble on the play. Blackman coughs it up. It's recovered by Buffalo. Denoris Searcy on the recovery. There's a marker thrown right in the vicinity of the Blackman catch at the Bills' 40.
And you got to think it's some kind of pass interference, possibly offensive pass interference. But we'll see here in just a second. There was contact at the top. Blackman was open.
Prior to the pass, holding. Number 27, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
That's the highly touted rookie cornerback, Stephon Gilmore.
And Dave Wanstead, defensive coordinator for Buffalo, told us that Gilmore would be matched up on Blackman all day. It was going to be a very physical matchup on the outside. Right there you saw a good example. And Gilmore, being a rookie, still has to learn. The rules are much different in the NFL than they are in college in terms of how aggressive you can be with the wide receiver on the outside. Right there, a little bit too much contact. You got to know when to let go. But I will say this. Gilmore is having a fantastic rookie season. He has really established himself as a legitimate, big-time cornerback in the NFL.
Gilmore taken with the 10th overall pick in the NFL draft, tied for 6th in the NFL with 13 pass breakups. This is 1st and 10. Jennings is blown up in the backfield. Alex Carrington with another tackle. Good start for Carrington and his Buffalo defensive front as Jacksonville loses yardage on 1st down.
Well, watch Carrington get up the field there and just rip right through. You see, and he's kind of the forgotten guy in the middle. they get so much attention from Marcell Darius and Kyle Williams on the inside. You forget they've got some depth up there, actually. And Carrington right there making a second big, strong play of the game so far.
Henney under center on 2nd and 12 from the 47. Going play action again, deep down the sideline. It's caught by Shorts, but he was out of bounds, and it's incomplete. And Ron Brooks, who they have thrust into a starting role today, someone that they have really liked of late, having an impact early in the game.
Well, this guy, Cecil Shorts III, is a guy that's really taken the NFL by storm this year. In his second year in the league, he's made as many big plays as any receiver in the NFL. 5 of his 6 touchdowns, over 20 yards on the season. That's #1 in the NFL. He's going to get a lot of action today because he's going to get a desirable matchup with Gilmore locked up on Blackman all day.
Jennings and Montel Owens in the backfield. Jennings from the gun on 3rd and 12. Markers whistle to play dead.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty remains. 3rd down.
There's Mike Mularkey back in Buffalo as an opposing head coach for the first time since leaving here in 2005. A departure that still is kind of shrouded in mystery. Mularkey leaving on his own terms, resigning from his position here. Has never quite talked about the details of it publicly. Tried to downplay it in our meeting with him yesterday. 7 years after the fact. This is Henney on 3rd and 17. What a catch by Shorts. Right at the first down marker at the 40, and they say it is a completed pass. Coverage on the play by Butler, but what an effort by Shorts for 18 yards.
You know what I like about this, Spiro? This is, you said it was 3rd and 15 or 16 yards, whatever it was, and Cecil Shorts, as a young wide receiver, had the presence to push his route up to about 20 yards to come back to 18 to make that catch. He knew exactly where he had to get. Chad Henney put the ball in the money.
2nd in a league in average yards per catch. As Shorts has come really out of nowhere in his 2nd NFL season to become a high-impact player. And there was such a need for it, Steve, with the absence of Maurice Jones-Drew, who's out another game today, 6th straight game that he's been out with that sore foot. They desperately needed a big play guy, and Shorts has been that player.
He surely has. And Chad Henney is doing nothing but more so establishing Cecil Shorts. Blaine Gabbert did a nice job early in the season getting Cecil Shorts going, but Henney really likes pushing the ball up the field to number 84.
Jennings on 2nd and 10. A fumble on the play. Mercedes Lewis recovers at the 40. The second fumble we've seen in this first quarter. As Jacksonville down 7-0 here. We come up on the final minute in this first quarter. And getting back to Cecil Shorts, a guy who wasn't even a starter, Steve, 2nd, 3rd string guy, has really become their main passing threat over the first 13 weeks.
The numbers speak for themselves. I mean, the kid has 4 receptions of over 50 yards on the season. That's #2 in the NFL. He's just a big play guy, and he can do a lot of different things for you.
Henney on 3rd and 11. Going sideline. A contact before the football got there. Kevin Elliott, the intended target. And it will be 4th down. Mike Mularkey, no choice here but to punt.
A little bit of contact up the field by Ron Brooks. Good coverage, though. I kind of question the decision by Chad Henney to go after that matchup. There are more desirable matchups out there when we got Mercedes Lewis, Justin Blackman, and Cecil Shorts III out there. You'd think one of them might have good one-on-one coverage opportunities.
Justin Rogers signals fair catch from his own 10. And so Ryan Fitzpatrick pinned back deep. When we return to Buffalo next, you're watching the NFL on CBS. All these dedicated Buffalo fans getting rained on. It's windy here in Buffalo today. The Bills in front 7-0 under a minute to play in this opening quarter. Ryan Fitzpatrick pinned back deep in his own side of the field. 1st and 10 from just outside the 10-yard line. C.J. Spiller going nowhere. Right inning right into the palms of Terrence Knighton, the defensive tackle. Well, here's why Buffalo's still holding out at least some hope that they can sneak into the playoffs. They've got the third easiest remaining schedule, Steve, including today's game over the final 5 games.
And this was identified. We had Buffalo earlier in the season, and Chan Gailey, he said, you know, if we can just weather the storm through the middle part of our season. They had games with the San Francisco 49ers, the New England Patriots, and several other good teams in that time frame. They knew that if they could just survive that storm, they would be able to finish out strong, at least in their own mind.
And that's the end of the first quarter with your score. Buffalo 7, Jacksonville nothing. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Back with you in Buffalo. Start of the second quarter. Bills leading the Jacksonville Jaguars 7-0. Buffalo keeping hold of some diminishing postseason hopes at this point. Week 13 really in a must-win spot over the final 5 weeks of the season. This is 2nd and 9 from just outside the 10. Fitzpatrick, a 1-yard touchdown run earlier. That's been the difference. Able to locate Spiller out of the backfield after a pickup of 7.
Ryan Fitzpatrick did exactly what he should do in that situation. Good hard play action. They wanted to try and catch Jacksonville playing over-aggressive on the run. It wasn't there up the field. He went through his progression, his reads, had great protection, and then able to be patient enough to come down and find C.J. Spiller in the flat for a nice game.
They spotted just outside the 18-yard line. This is 3rd and 2 officially. A draw play. The late handoff to Spiller. Can he turn the corner? Lunges for the first down marker. Needed to get to the 21. Forced out by Aaron Ross.
I think he got it, Spiro. Yeah. What a great effort right there. This is another great example of this. Watch, it's a good draw fake, but immediately, right when he gets the football, he's got to dodge one Jacksonville defender, and then he has to beat 2 or 3 more to the edge. You see the speed. I really believe, honestly believe, that Aaron Ross, like so many defenders do, number 31 for Jacksonville, they misjudge his speed. They think they've got him, they got the angle on him, and he breaks that angle unlike anybody else in the league.
So 1st and 10. Fitzpatrick over the middle. It's intercepted. And look who, Paul Posluszny, the former Buffalo Bill, back in Western New York for the first time, and what a moment that is for him.
Just played absolutely perfectly by Paul Posluszny. This is his 3rd interception of the year. He did not bite on the play-action fake. Reed and Ryan Fitzpatrick all the way. Fitzpatrick never even remotely saw number 51 dropping back in that lane, and perfectly played by Paul Posluszny. As a quarterback, sometimes you get a little bit
Number 68 is reporting is eligible.
overly confident in your play action ability. You think those linebackers are going to step up. You believe the hole's going to be there. You still have to go through it with your eyes and see it.
We've been told that Mike Brewster, the rookie guard for Jacksonville, is being looked at and x-rayed on his hand in the Jacksonville locker room. This is Jennings bursting down the field. Inside the 20, tackle made by Stephon Gilmore. Now Jennings looks like he's shaken up after a 13-yard burst. And they just can't keep these running backs healthy. It's unbelievable the injuries that the Jaguars have had to contend with.
And the backup running back today for the Jacksonville Jaguars is Richard Murphy, who was signed off the practice squad just a couple days ago.
Rashad Jennings being looked at. It looks like his right knee took a helmet to the leg at the end of that last run. So Montel Owens takes his place. Here's Owens on 1st and 10. Owens, a 2-time Pro Bowler as a special teams player the past couple of years. And here was the injury to Jennings a moment ago.
Best run of the day by the Jaguars. You're going to see, though, helmet right in there, right on that right knee. Not exactly sure exactly where the damage was done. Could have been thigh, might have been right above the knee. Either way, Rashad Jennings very frustrated as he sat during that break. You can just tell the frustration look in his face that you really want to get that rhythm going. He had a good run, and it ends with his is injured.
Stephon Gilmore, the man who laid the hit on him. 5-yard run by Owens, sets up a 2nd and 5. Another draw play. Owens inside the 10, takes on a tackler at the 5. And is finally brought down around the 2, maybe the 3. A late penalty marker thrown in the end zone. Owens, at least for the moment, running for the first down. 9-yard pickup. Here's the penalty.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 78, 15-yard penalty. Since the first down was made on the play, the result of the play will be first down and 10.
Well, Cameron Bradfield, the second-year player at Grand Valley State, undrafted free agent last year. He comes in late. You see right there, just trying to pick off somebody late. You know, these offensive linemen, they're told to play through the whistle. Justin Rogers right there caught one. And a lot of times these guys try to pick off people standing around the pile. Coaches like that aggressiveness, but you got to be smart. You cannot push it like they did right there. They just had a couple of good plays, and now they're back in the 20-yard line.
That's a huge penalty on Bradfield. 1st and 10. Henne has to throw off his back foot. Incomplete. And Steve, that's part of being 2-19. You pick up those penalties at the worst possible time. Instead of a 1st and goal inside the 5, they're now backed up to the 18.
And when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, the only team to score in every possession in the red zone now. Understand this, they've been to the red zone fewer times than any team in the NFL. So they've scored only 12 touchdowns. That's 30th in the NFL, but they can't say they've scored every time. But you're right, the untimely penalties will cost you. 2-19 seem to have them go against them more often than not.
2nd down pass deflected right at the line of scrimmage. Mario Williams gets his mitts on it for Buffalo. And now Chad Henne faced with a 3rd and 10 coming up.
You know what's surprising too about that, Spiro, is that Mike Mularkey's Jaguars team is the least penalized team in the AFC. But he told us that penalties at the wrong times all year long have plagued this team. You know, they had 1st and goal around the 5-yard line, and here they are now looking at 3rd and long.
This is 3rd and 10 from the 18. Henne from the shotgun going middle. Incomplete. 2nd dropped pass by a Jaguars wide receiver. That's the first-year star, Justin Blackman.
George Wilson did a great job. You know, down in the red zone, that inline is another defender for the defense. They know they've got a 12th defender with that back line of the end zone. They can swat on things. George Wilson read it and jumped it very well.
We do want to apologize. One of the players on the field uttering some foul language that was picked up by our microphones. So our apologies. Josh Scobie on to attempt a 36-yard field goal as they will hold from the 26. And Scobie is perfect. So the penalty on Bradfield forces Jacksonville to settle for 3. They're down 4.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Audi. Truth in engineering. Sears. This is how to gift. This is Sears. And by Bud Light, the official beer sponsor of the NFL. Here we go.
Jacksonville able to break onto the scoreboard. 7-3 your score as the drive stalling and a critical penalty on the tackle, Cameron Bradfield. Pushed them back to the 18, so they've got to settle for the Josh Scobie field goal. And now Scobie from his own 35. Brad Smith signals fair catch. Touchback from his own end zone will give the Bills a 1st and 10 from the 20. Well, C.J. Spiller has been the star for this offense, Steve, all season long, and a good start today.
Yeah, we look at eye vision here. You can see some of the things. Look at his eye vision right here. The way he takes it up into the play design to cut back, but he feels the pursuit coming, and he's quick enough once again to get back to the edge before the defense of the Indianapolis Colts has the ability to react to him. You see a lot more of those type of runs out of C.J. Spiller. The only guy I think in the NFL that can hold a candle to C.J. Spiller as far as that kind of a run is Chris Johnson in Tennessee. Those two guys, if you over pursue, they're small enough and explosive enough that you can't see them cutting back against the grain. And it's pretty impressive what they can do.
Spiller getting a rest here. Fred Jackson lines up alongside Fitzpatrick on 1st and 10 from the 20. With a sidearm screen pass, Jackson makes the first guy miss. He's out across the 30. And Fred Jackson, the 31-year-old, 60-year veteran, with an 11-yard run and a Buffalo first down.
What a luxury Chan Gailey has in Fred Jackson right here. Great job running what's called a slip screen underneath. You see Fred Jackson just slipped right underneath that defensive end. Ryan Fitzpatrick ready to put that ball in right when he turned around. And it's a nice, solid first down pickup for Buffalo.
Jackson missing 2 games early in the year with a sprained knee ligament that he injured on opening day at the Jets. He's had to sacrifice a lot of his personal stats with the emergence of Spiller. But Jackson is such a team-first guy that is really looked up to and admired in that Buffalo locker room. Picks up some good yardage here on first down.
Truly, Fred Jackson is the undisputed, I think, leader of this ball club. I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously, as the quarterback, is the leader, but Fred Jackson is really the glue to this team. Anybody you talk to, they talk about just his overall presence, how he carries himself, despite the fact that I'm sure he's frustrated that he's not playing as much as he would like. He's had some injury trouble, but he always steps up and leads in a positive way.
Jackson nearly 1,000 yards rushing last season before going down with a leg injury. Jackson trying to turn the corner across the 45, tackled by DeJuan Landry, the safety, after a pickup of 10 and another Buffalo first down. Russell Allen, the linebacker, had a shot at him, but he missed.
Now, this is a guy, Fred Jackson. 13 times he's rushed for over 100 yards in his career. He's really become a mainstay of this offense, and with the emergence of C.J. Spiller, it's taken away from his ability to make plays as frequently, but he's always ready to play. That's one of the most impressive things about him.
Fitzpatrick on 1st and 10, again gives to Jackson. Jackson kind of scooting under the would-be tackler. What a first half for Jackson here, as he has become the workhorse. Tackle made eventually by the end, Jeremy Mincey. Let's head to New York and an update with JB.
No quit in luck.
I'll tell you what, some guys just have it. Take a look at this play-action fake. Perfectly thrown back shoulder pass to Kobe Fleener. 26 yards. Back and forth they go. 17-14 Lions over the Colts.
Hey, our guy Steve Berline can toss a few of those, I'm sure.
Roger.
Spiro and Steve.
Maybe not quite as well as Boomer could, JB, but I had a few of them.
2nd and short, Buffalo trying to churn out some yardage here. C.J. Mosley on the tackle and C.J. Spiller back onto the field. So the clock continues to run, under 9 minutes to play first half. We expected kind of a low-scoring, grinded-out type game. That's exactly what we've got so far. Chan Gailey in Buffalo 4-7 after the disappointment in Indianapolis last Sunday. And he was very candid in our meeting with him yesterday. Said basically we've got to win out. Just can't afford any more losses at this point. It's a very winnable schedule down the stretch as they bring out the Chains crew here.
And he made the comment to us, you know what? The world champions after 14 games last year were 7-7. So he said it can happen, as we find Buffalo about half a foot short of a first down right there.
Well, here's what their remaining schedule looks like. Steve, a game in Miami, their only road game down the stretch. Seattle, of course, has had their moments, but these are winnable games for a team that came into the year with such high hopes.
Oh, each of those definitely winnable ball games. And I think this ball game, when you talk to the players, they truly believe if they do their job that they could get the help that they need. The way the schedule plays itself out, it could actually happen. So they're hanging on to it.
3rd and short. Jackson has the first down. His forward progress, able to move the chains and then some. We do want to point out updated injury from the Jacksonville sideline. Rashad Jennings, we're told, has a head injury. And so the injuries continue to mount up for Jacksonville. Jennings will not return. Mike Mularkey, just unbelievable the injuries he's had to deal with at that running back position. course, Maurice Jones-Drew out a 6th consecutive game. Hasn't played since October the 21st with a foot injury. Jackson on 1st and 10, loses yardage. Jason Babin making the start, got there first. Back to New York, JB and Boomer.
Texans expanding their lead.
All right, Matt Schaub's going to get a second touchdown pass on the day. This time to James Casey, H-back out of the backfield. 5 yards, 14-3 Texans over Tennessee Titans.
And you'd say what to Steve Berline?
He was a pretty good quarterback in his own right.
Thank you very much. Spiro and Steve.
Hey, it's hard for Boomer to dish out those compliments. I appreciate that, big boy.
2nd and 12, they spotted from the 45. Fitzpatrick with a screen pass, finally able to locate Stevie Johnson. First reception for Johnson today after a couple of drops earlier. Forced out of bounds by Kevin Rutland. A reminder coming up, the Verizon halftime report from New York. JB, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher standing by. They'll have all the latest scores and highlights. Week 13 around the NFL. It's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. You can see the rain still coming down here. The wind has died down at least a little bit after what we had seen earlier this morning here in Buffalo. Fitzpatrick from the shotgun on 3rd and 8. Fitzpatrick again dangerous with his legs. Inside the 40, takes on a hard hit. Aaron Ross and Posluszny with a chance to lay the wood, and that's something Chan Gailey will cringe in looking at from the sideline.
Yeah, you just wonder what the thought process is right there from your quarterback that you've got so much invested in, not only from a money standpoint, obviously with the contract, but from just the leadership standpoint on the field. You know, Ryan Fitzpatrick was not going to run through 2 defenders for the Jacksonville Jaguars and pick up 6 more yards. Looks like they're going to let the clock run down and take a timeout before the 40-second clock runs down. Chan Gailey's going to think about what he wants to do here.
So Buffalo will take its first timeout. Clock stopped at 5:37 to play in a 7-3 game here in Buffalo. I'll have a sports fan on your holiday gift list. Visit CBSSports.com shop. They've got officially licensed NFL gear and NCAA gear from over 500 schools and 3-day shipping on every order. Shop.cbssports.com. So Chan Gailey rolling the dice, 4th and 5. They spot it from the Jacksonville 37. Fitzpatrick from the shotgun, incomplete, and Jacksonville takes over. Russell Allen, the linebacker, got his hands on it.
Great play by Russell Allen, and I understand what Chan Gailey was thinking there. You had 4th and 5. If you try to kick the field goal, you're talking about a 55-yard field goal in these conditions. Not very makeable. I don't care who your kicker is, but you see the nice break on the football by Russell Allen right there. He knew exactly how to play that thing, timed it just perfectly, jumped in front of Scott Chandler, got the ball back for his offense. And you know, the other thing that Chan Gailey's got going for him right now too, he knows that his defense is playing pretty well. Jacksonville has not found the rhythm on offense, so he's not worried about giving them the ball on the 36-yard line.
So Chad Henne, who has really struggled so far, 3 of 13 before that pass. Incomplete, trying to find Shorts. Marker thrown late. Coverage by Brooks on the play.
Yeah, Brooks really was in good position on this play, but definitely.
Pass interference. Number 33 of the defense. Automatic. First down.
Definitely guilty of pass interference. He's a rookie. He's used to playing by college rules. Again, in the NFL, there's just a different set of circumstances to get pass interference called on you. Right there, he never looked back for the football. Cecil Shorts trying to get back to the football. There was contact. If Brooks would have looked back for the ball, there would have been no flag.
So they gain 24 yards with the penalty and have it 1st and 10 from the Bills' 40. And he puts some air on it. It's caught by Shorts inside the 20 and forced out of bounds just outside the 15-yard line. And now the Jaguars in business after they pick up 24.
Well, I like what Chad Henne's doing right here. He's decided to pick on the rookie Ron Brooks out of LSU. He likes to match up Cecil Shorts on Ron Brooks. Cecil Shorts, as we stated, many times today, is the big play guy for Jacksonville. If you think you can cover him with a rookie, well, we want to try and exploit that. They got him matched up top again, right there, top of your screen. We'll see what happens.
And keep in mind, Leotis McKelvin leaving this game with a back injury. His return still questionable. Henny from his back foot locating Lewis. Lewis pummeling through the defense. Marker thrown at the end of the play at the 10-yard line. Mercedes Lewis trying to jumpstart his season after a disappointing start.
Illegal block in the back, number 88. There's no foul on the play for a block in the back. The block was on the shoulder. Result of the play, the first down.
So they pick up the flag in a critical sequence there.
Tight end screen to Mercedes Lewis. He does a good job of shedding the blockers right there. And there he gets the ball on the outside and runs very physically. Right there you saw Zach Potter come flying by. You're going to see number 88, Zach Potter, right there. And you know, that I understand why that flag was thrown. That was one of those that could have gone either way. The question was, when was contact established? And where was that first contact made?
Turns out to be a 12-yard pickup. This is first and goal inside the 5. Owens. No signal from the official. Appears to be just short. Again, the football simply needs to break the plane of the goal line. And it will be second
Number 68
and inches.
is reporting is eligible. 68 is reporting.
You see Jacksonville. There's 3 rushing touchdowns all season long. An incredibly low number. Of course, no Maurice Jones-Drew today for his 6th consecutive game. Rashad Jennings done for the day. Out with a head injury, so Montel Owens, the 3rd stringer on. This is Henny. Second and goal, and he's in. And Jacksonville takes its first lead.
Well, they caught the Buffalo Bills overcommitted to the run. You see the good hard play action backside, and you force the defense to. You saw Henny. He was almost going to flip it to Guy Whipper, number 68. Those offensive linemen don't get a chance to catch the football very often, but I think Henny made the right decision. Said, you know what, it's wet. He's a big boy. Might get a little too excited if that ball's coming to him. I'm doing it myself.
Now, you wondered where Henny would surface after his stint with the Dolphins ended last season. That shoulder injury after just 4 weeks. And here he is now trying to find his niche with his Jacksonville team. And Blaine Gabbert going down 2 weeks ago, and Chad Henne has Jacksonville in front.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by KFC. Come in today and taste why fresh is better.
Back with you at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Chad Henne selling that faked handoff, little bootleg action to the sideline, punches it in. And Jacksonville out in front for the first time today, 10-7. Rain continues to come down here with 3:47 left before halftime. Brad Smith from his own end zone. And Josh Scobie from the 35. This is Marcus Easley from his own goal line. Easley across the 30, still going out past the 40, inside Jacksonville territory. And finally forced out by the rookie Mike Harris and a late flag thrown. They'll tack on 15 more.
Not a good decision by Mike Harris, the rookie, as you said. The damage was already done on the return. You give him an extra 15.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness, late hit, out of bounds. Number 39, 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
55-yard return by Easley. And they'll tack on 15 more.
Well, you know, what a great return up the middle. Just a good job of trusting it by Mike Easley. And then right there you see late, it was actually Mike Harris looked like he made the hit. There were 2 guys. It was Murphy as well.
That was Richard Murphy, who was signed off the practice squad to be the 3rd string running back today.
Yep, just a little overly excited, Richard Murphy.
Here's a direct snap to Smith. First time we've seen this play inside the 20. And Smith in the open field, brought down by DeJuan Landry after a pickup of 10 and a Buffalo first down.
That was the Buffalo Bills version of the Wildcat. Brad Smith, who did play quarterback in college. You can see Ryan Fitzpatrick's out here at the bottom of the screen. It just forces a defense to spread out and expand with the quarterback out there. You run C.J. Spiller in motion, and then you got a nice play up inside with Brad Smith.
So Fitzpatrick back under center, 1st and 10 from the 15. This is Spiller. Picks up a couple as he approaches the 10. Buffalo still 2 timeouts to play. We've still got the 2-minute warning coming up right here. With 2:45 and counting, and the Bills down 3.
You see the significance of special teams, especially in weather games like this, where it's so hard to sustain drives because of the elements out there. When you get a big kickoff return, you give yourself field position, all of a sudden you take the momentum right out away from the other team.
Fitzpatrick 77 yards passing so far. This is Spiller trying to find the edge. Breaks a tackle in the backfield, but forced out at about the 11. Nice recovery by the safety, Landry. Also, Mike Harris was there. Harris, the one who missed the tackle initially, but Landry had his back.
Well, good job by C.J. Spiller just to get this thing back to the line of scrimmage.
So with that, we have reached the 2-minute warning here in Buffalo. The Bills threatening, but down 3. Marcus Easley on the right of your picture, Richard Murphy on the left. 55-yard run back by Easley, and at the end of the play, it was the late hit on Murphy that tacked on 15 more. Now the Bills trying to capitalize on 3rd and 6. End zone, touchdown! Scott Chandler from Fitzpatrick, and Buffalo retakes the lead.
It's Scott Chandler's 12th career touchdown, his 6th this year. He is a big target. Ryan Fitzpatrick loves using him in the red zone right there on the right side of your screen. He gets right over the top of Paul Posluszny, and the ball's thrown perfectly by Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Ryan Fitzpatrick took him right in the chops. Never saw that ball completed. Had to be told by the reaction from the crowd that it was a touchdown.
You know, looking at that replay, Posluszny may have got a fingertip on that pass, but Chandler with incredible concentration able to bring it in. There's a marker on the point after attempt.
Offside, number 90. The extra point is good. The 5-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff. Timeout.
So Scott Chandler with his 6th receiving touchdown as we take another look. Posluszny, you see, did get a fingertip on it. What a play by Scott Chandler. In 2007, the NFL launched NFL Play 60, encouraging young fans to be active for at least 60 minutes a day. On Tuesday, several Bills traveled to Play 60 Super School, Theodore Roosevelt Elementary, in nearby Cheektowaga, where they worked out with kids during the NFL Play 60. Keep Gym and School PE class and also presented a $10,000 grant. All for a wonderful cause. As Buffalo has moved down in front, 14-10 under 2 minutes to play before halftime. Fitzpatrick to Scott Chandler. And you see Chandler continues to work his way up the Buffalo record books with his 6th receiving touchdown of the season. Juan Cosby signed this week by Jacksonville. Watches it sail through the end zone, a touchback. So Chad Henne back onto the field from the 20. And fun now to see Henne and Fitzpatrick, Steve, go back and forth. You just get a newfound sense of confidence in Jacksonville. Not to put, Blaine Gabbert down again. Gabbert's been whacked, by media and fans, but Henne is just a seasoned veteran guy, and they just are very confident with him on the center.
Well, his quarterback rating in the NFL, the 2 games he's played, 119. His offense has done things that just, quite frankly, they had not done before. Now, today he's only 5 of 15 for 86 yards, but this is not ideal conditions to throw the football.
Henne has it stripped and recovered by Mario Williams. Williams following up his 3-sack performance last Sunday with a huge play.
I think that Chad Henne really misjudged the length of Mario Williams' arms right there. He hung that ball out there. He's got to protect that football. Keep both hands up. He's got to sense Mario Williams and just shuffle up a little bit more. Mario Williams more than willing to try and take that ball right out of his hands. Almost did scoop it right out of his hands, but did the smart thing and fell on it. Now Buffalo has a great opportunity to score again.
So Williams with his first fumble forced. And now Ryan Fitzpatrick from the shotgun on 1st and 10 at the 14. Fred Jackson struggles to get back to the line of scrimmage. Mincy on the tackle.
Jeremy Mincy on the stop.
Clock continues to run Buffalo with 2 timeouts.
Well, we saw the game last week, Jacksonville against Tennessee, and we looked at the film very closely from the week before against Houston. In my opinion, that's really the first bad play that Chad Henne has made. He had a chance to protect that football. He's been very, very efficient protecting the football. But right there, you cannot get careless deep in your own end zone like that.
Fred Jackson split at the bottom of your screen. This is 2nd and 11. Fitzpatrick again just taking on those defenders. Stevie just doesn't know how to slide.
I think he surprises these defenders sometimes. I don't think that Allen surprised him to lower the boom and try and take him on like that. He was expecting the slide, and Fitzpatrick said, you know, I'm going to try and fight for 3 or 4 more yards.
I mean, he goes out, not only does he not slide, he goes out looking for contact at the end of the plays.
And we laugh.
Well, they'll certainly make Chan Gailey uneasy as he looks on here, 3rd and 7. Fitzpatrick throwing end zone too high, incomplete. Trying to locate Brad Smith. And Chan Gailey will send out his field goal unit.
That was a smart play by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Intentional throwaway in the red zone. That's one thing that's drilled into quarterbacks from a very early stage. If you don't see it the way you want to see it, do not force it. Jacksonville dialed up the right coverage for the play that was called by Chan Gailey, and nothing's there. You know, don't take points off the board. Give yourself a chance at that field goal. Smart play by Ryan Fitzpatrick.
35-year-old Ryan Lindell has been nearly automatic. This one from 29 yards out. And Lindell is perfect once again. So Buffalo off the forced fumble and recovery by Mario Williams, able to push its lead to 7. Late stages first half, Mario Williams getting it done for the Buffalo Bills defense. Timeout.
Another father and son road trip. And what's more fun than a sudden change of plans?
What the?
You might meet some new friends. That's a weird-looking dog. And a couple of guys that could really use a hand.
I am your father.
Looks like you need a bigger van. Or a bigger starship.
See you guys.
Nice. So no matter where your imagination takes you,
Can we keep it?
it's always better when you build together.
Reminder, stay tuned for the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher standing by in New York. We'll have all the latest scores and highlights. It's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Spiro Vita, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you from Western New York. Buffalo in a must-win situation from here on out. At 4-7, their dwindling playoff hopes still alive. We're down 14-10, but they've scored 7 straight and lead by 7. Lindell on to kick. This is Cosby from just outside his own end zone, trying to cut back. And Marcus Easley, after the 55-yard return earlier, with another huge special teams play. Well, they face some of the worst criminals of all time, but tomorrow they'll take on a real stunner. A Victoria's Secret model. Don't miss a new Hawaii 5-0 tomorrow. Only CBS. So 26 seconds to play. Mike Mularkey does have 3 timeouts, but hard to think that he'll roll the dice here.
Taking a knee.
So Chad Henne will take his troops into the locker room, down 7 Had a short-lived lead there in that second quarter, as both teams now will make their adjustments. Buffalo at 4-7, Jacksonville 2-9 coming in after snapping their 7-game losing streak last Sunday. That's the end of the first half in Buffalo. Your score: the Bills 17, the Jaguars 10. We'll be back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station on CBS. You're listening to a Pepsi NFL anthem. Download this song and other NFL-inspired anthems at PepsiAnthems.com. Halftime score here in Western New York: Buffalo 17 and Jacksonville 10. As we get set for the second half here, as we welcome you to the NFL on CBS. Spiro Dedes alongside Steve Berline. The story for Buffalo: they still feel like they're alive for the postseason, needing to win out over the final 5, and they have done it so far, Steve, in every phase of this game.
They really have. It's a 17-10 ball game. By no means is Jacksonville out of this ball game, but the late part of this first half, Buffalo took over with a big kickoff return by Marcus Easley. 55 yards combined with a 15-yard penalty on Jacksonville for the late hit by Murphy, and then the offense took advantage of it with the Ryan Fitzpatrick to Scott Chandler touchdown. And then on the very next possession, Chad Henne leads his troops out there for Jacksonville, and Mario Williams the big play on defense. So special teams sets up the offense, defense comes through with the big play, and Buffalo follows that up with a field goal to give themselves 10 points right at the end of the first half and take control of this ball game.
And that's where we stand as we take a look at our first half stats. Certainly numbers that won't bowl anyone over.
No, but you look at the third down conversion, I think that is what has led to the time of possession and the total yard advantage for the Buffalo Bills. When you're converting third downs, 4 of 7, that's a pretty high percentage, especially in these conditions. I think Chan Gailey's got to be very pleased with that part of his offensive performance so far.
Buffalo will receive to start their second half, as Jacksonville, Chad Henne will wait their turn on the sidelines. Buffalo 4-7 after their disappointing loss in Indy last Sunday. Jacksonville, meantime, looking for a second straight win, something they haven't done all year, just 2-9 after beating the Tennessee Titans last weekend.
And this is a Buffalo team that knows if you get at least a field goal in the opening drive of the second half, making a 2-score game, that's a tough deficit to overcome.
Brad Smith on the return. He's across the 25 to the 30, 35. Excellent return by Smith. Brought down just short of the 40 by Mike Harris. As we take a look now at the offensive possessions for the Bills, Steve, in that first half.
Well, the only real mistake, Ryan Fitzpatrick's interception there on that third drive, set up Buffalo, or set up Jacksonville for points. And you look at it, that's really the only thing that Buffalo has done poorly. There was a great play by Russell Allen on fourth down that stalled a Buffalo drive as well. But I think if you look at this whole thing, aside from the special teams that Buffalo has kind of taken advantage of the last 2 kickoff returns, Mike Mularkey has to like his position right now.
This is Spiller, little juke move at the 45. Brought down by Paul Posluszny, DeJuan Landry. If you've just joined us, there is Paul Posluszny, the former Bill, had a huge interception in the first half as he makes his emotional return to Buffalo for the first time since leaving here before last season. And Posluszny, very candid, after he decided to sign his free agent contract, it was his initial hope to return here for a 5th year. But they had made the switch, going from the 4-3 to the 3-4. He just wasn't a fit at that point. And after the lockout ended, decided to sign a free agent contract with Jacksonville. Spent the first 4 years of his career here. Posluszny, in the way you'd expect from him, he's such a modest guy, tried to downplay the significance of it, as did Mike Mularkey, the former Bills head coach.
And Posluszny, very, very respected throughout the league. He's an every down linebacker. He's got enough speed to play sideline to sideline, so he doesn't come off the field in third down situations. Buffalo would love to have had him back.
Big third down play here, early stages, second half. They spot it just inside the 48. Fitzpatrick on a pitch play to Spiller. Finds the edge, has the first down. Spiller in the first half held in check under 30 yards on the ground, but able to move the chains here.
Well, just trying to take advantage of a little bit of over pursuit from Jacksonville. All the flow goes right. You flip it back to C.J. Spiller going left. Just let him beat the big old defensive end to the left sideline.
Spiller, the 25-year-old, and his third NFL season, will get a rest here with Fred Jackson on the field. This is 1st and 10 from inside the 50. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to have to burn a timeout. Play clock was down to 1. And that could come back to haunt the Bills in a tight game. Well, Ryan Fitzpatrick forced to burn a timeout. Play clock was about to expire. So 17-10 your score. Couple of minutes gone by, second half. 1st and 10 Buffalo from the Jacksonville 49. Fred Jackson over center, has some room across the 40. First down and more. Russell Allen finally brings him down from the back after Jackson rings him up for 16.
Just the old-fashioned ISO play. Fred Jackson taking it straight up the middle between tackles. And that was it. Shoot, that was Eric Wood, the center. Craig Urbick, the right guard. Boy, what a big hole right there. Straight ahead, no fooling around. Fred Jackson was on that second level of defense before Jacksonville knew what was going on.
Jackson 38 yards on the ground on 9 carries. Brad Smith now in the shotgun. Second time we've seen the direct snap. This is 1st and 10. Smith to the 20 and another Buffalo first down. Allen has to make another tackle. Kevin Rutland also there, but not before Smith runs for 17.
Well, this is pretty much the same play that Buffalo ran earlier out of the Wildcats. The second play, this time they just ran it back to the left side. First time they went right, Smith picked up about 7 or 8 yards. That time he takes it left and picks up even more.
And Brad Smith was brought in from the Jets before last season to give them that wild card element, but we didn't really see a lot of it last year. Certainly not with any great deal of success.
And remember, he is a quarterback, so they can throw out of the Wildcat with him back there as well.
You see the breakdown, 5 rushes. That's the first pass of the drive, incomplete. Off the hands of Jackson.
Incomplete pass.
DeJuan Landry really read this well. This was a play that Buffalo ran successfully earlier. The slip screen to Fred Jackson right there. They thought they had it, but DeJuan Landry was really doing a good job keying Fred Jackson. Broke on that ball, was there right when the ball hit Fred Jackson's hand.
It's a Jacksonville secondary that has been hit with injury. 2nd and 10. They spot it from just outside the 17. Fitzpatrick has time. Now the pocket collapses. Throwing off his back foot, incomplete for Smith. Late marker thrown.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 58. After the center goal, automatic first down.
That's Jason Babin.
Yeah, they call this on Jason Babin. I want to see this again. I don't know. I don't think it was head-to-head. I think it was good timing on the hit. I think it's just part of football. I mean, he didn't. To me, it looked like he hit him in the shoulder. Let's see if there's actually head-to-head contact. I didn't see that. You didn't see Babin put his head down. He hit him with his face up, right in the shoulder. I think that's a call that, when you look at it closely, I know it was a bang-bang play. Hard to make that call for the official, and they're so protective of the quarterbacks. I get it. And that's a 14th personal foul on the Jaguars this season, second most in the NFL, but bad timing on that, and I really don't agree with that call.
So a huge call against Jacksonville's defense. Sets up Buffalo 1st and goal now from the 9. Fitzpatrick from the shotgun, end zone incomplete. Hooked up with Chandler late in the first half. Can't find him there. It'll be 2nd and goal.
Well, DeJuan Landry had coverage on that play with Scott Chandler, and I really believe that Landry was beaten on that play. Even though he was in good position, he had his back to Ryan Fitzpatrick. big target, Scott Chandler. If Fitzpatrick could throw that again, he'd try and put up a little bit higher. Chandler, I think, would have made that play.
Chandler, the former 4th-round pick of the Chargers in 2007. Stints with both the Cowboys and Giants. Chandler in the slot now goes in motion on 2nd and goal.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty remains, 2nd down.
You know,
Steve, are the plays coming in late?
It's an awareness thing for Ryan Fitzpatrick and Changia. That nothing frustrates a head coach or an offensive coordinator more than that. The earlier one, Fitzpatrick saw Jacksonville in a blitz look, wanted to change the play and realized too late that he wasn't going to get that play out. That's why they take the first down or take the timeout. Right here, I think it was just complete unawareness. Lack of awareness by Ryan Fitzpatrick right there.
Buffalo had to burn a timeout a couple of minutes ago, and the play clock again down to 1. 2nd and goal, Fitzpatrick from the 20, end zone, touchdown, Stevie Johnson. And Buffalo extends to a 13-point lead.
Well, very well executed play. Ryan Fitzpatrick not rattled at all. Stevie Johnson lined up in the slot, gets one-on-one coverage with Kevin Rutland, number 22. And it's a nicely designed route, called at the perfect time. You got the look you wanted, and very good execution.
5th touchdown catch of the season for Johnson. And followed a wide receiver who was in the news this week after his comments following the game Sunday in Indianapolis, questioning whether or not Ryan Fitzpatrick should be given more leeway at the line of scrimmage. Johnson comes through for his team here, and Buffalo extends to a 14-point lead.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. 1&1 My Website, where creating a business website is easy. And by Garmin. This holiday season, give a Garmin the most trusted name in GPS navigation.
Well, it's been a long year for Jacksonville. And it continues now after they had jumped out to a 10-7 lead late in the first half. Buffalo suddenly up 2 touchdowns now, with 11 minutes to play in his 3rd quarter. Von Cosby across the 20, brought down at about the 27. How does Chad Henne and company respond here? You know, Steve, a back-breaking penalty and a controversial penalty that on Jason Babin, and something that Mike Mularkey touched on in our meeting with him yesterday. They've had so many instances where their defense thinks they've gotten off the field, but a penalty against them extends the drive for an opponent, and they go on to score.
Yeah, he mentioned that coming into this game, 16 times they've had extending 3rd down penalties called against them. 11 of those 16 times the team has gone on to score. Today was the 12th time. Just bad timing on penalties, and I think that was a bad penalty call.
Very close call on Babin that extended the drive. So here's Montel Owens. The other area where Jacksonville just flat out has been unlucky has been all the injuries at the running back position. We know Maurice Jones-Drew is out there. He is trying to stay dry here. Inactive for his 6th consecutive week. Still a week, maybe 2 weeks away from returning. Unlikely next week, according to what Mike Mularkey told us. But, you know, his absence put so much pressure on the shoulders of Blaine Gabbert. A guy who's a young guy, just 1 year of experience, desperately needed to have that workhorse in the backfield as they find Shorts about a yard or 2 short of the first down marker. But Maurice Jones-Drew, the NFL's rushing king a year ago, boy, they felt his absence.
You know, he's just like a big kid. In fact, look at this. You got a space that his legs aren't even long enough to get down to the floor when he's sitting on that bench. I mean, Maurice Jones-Drew, a little big man in every sense. He plays as big as any running back in the NFL. They miss him.
And Jones-Drew, of course, started the year with that 38-day holdout. They were able to move the chains. It's an incomplete pass here, as Mercedes Lewis double covered. We mentioned the injury to Maurice Jones-Drew. They lost Rashad Jennings, who is the player who took over. But the life without Jones-Drew, not nearly what it's been when he's been a star for him on the field.
And also last week, the loss of Jalen Parmalee, who's been elevated to their starting running back. He tore his groin, and just bad luck at that running back position for Mike Mularkey and the Jaguars.
They've had 3 substantial injuries to starting running backs at different junctures this season. They find Justin Blackman on second down, tackled by Stephon Gilmore. What a matchup between those two today, Blackman and Gilmore. 9 yards through the air.
Well, all that being said, though, Spiro, this is a team that Mike Mularkey is very proud of. He said 11 games they've shown up and they've expected to win. They play hard, they practice hard. In fact, Jason Babin, who just joined the team this week, said he was incredibly impressed with the attitude out of practice, with the energy in the locker room. This team still is playing hard and wants to win.
Huge 3rd and 1 play here. And he bobbles the snap. Well, that play just looked bad even before it happened. Markers fly at the line of scrimmage. All kinds of confusion.
Offside. Number 91, defense, 5-yard penalty. And the result of the penalty is a first down.
Well, that was good timing for Jacksonville on that play. They came up and tried to get lined up quickly and surprised Buffalo, but Chad Henne surprised himself.
Number 68 is reporting his own.
That ball never got up into his hand. You see it hits the ground right there. Spencer Johnson was definitely offside, though, and Jacksonville does get a break.
So it sets up a 1st and 10 for the Jaguars in Bills territory. Play action from Henne. Going deep down the slot. Incomplete again for Lewis, and a late marker. Ron Brooks, who's been targeted right from the start by Henne, was in on the coverage.
Illegal contact. Number 33, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Well, just a 5-yard penalty. If there is a silver lining, it's not the pass interference kind, but you're going to see the contact right there. He grabs him at the waist, and you just can't do that. You just can't do it. Mercedes Lewis did a good job setting up that route, got Brooks to turn his shoulders outside, then cut back behind him. I think Brooks knew he was beat. It was actually a smart play by him. He's shaking his head, doesn't like it, but it saved the big play.
Brooks will stay on the field, 1st and 10 after the penalty. Just a 5-yard penalty on the play, so they spot it at the 44. This is Owens inside the 40. Brought down at about the 37 by Gilmore after a pickup of 7. Back to New York, JB and Boomer.
Tight ball game in Detroit.
Young Colts, fun to watch, guys. Here you go. Vic Bauer, 11 yards, nifty little run. Makes a couple guys miss, gets into the end zone. Indianapolis scores on their first possession in the second half. 23-21 Lions over the Colts.
Back to Spiro and Steve.
Well, the Colts, one of the teams at Buffalo chasing the AFC wildcard picture. Certainly looks bleak at this point with the Colts rolling. This is 2nd and 3. And he tucks it away, slides right at the line of scrimmage. They have lost a half-yard on the play. Clock continues to run, 7:43 remaining in the 3rd.
Well, Dave Wanstead, defensive coordinator for Buffalo, told us one thing he wanted to do. Chad Henne's not a runner. You can tell right there, but he looked kind of like me when I used to try and run once in a while. But Dave Wanstead said we got to get him off his spot. That means we got to get him moving in the pocket. Do not let him get comfortable back there because he can make all the throws. And Dave Wanstead, one of the most respected defensive coaches in all of football. This defense is starting to finally come around late in the season for him.
Taking over for George Edwards. This is 3rd and 4 from the 39. Henne. Incomplete. Poorly thrown ball for Cecil Shorts behind him. Shorts trying to make the twisting catch. And it will be 4th down. Interesting decision here.
You're right, Spiro. Ron Brooks was beaten on that play. Cecil Shorts, I don't know who was at fault there. It was not well thrown, but I think Chad Henne was thinking that Cecil Shorts would keep it a little bit wider away from the safety. Cecil Shorts been an inside a little bit, so here we're going for it on 4th and 5. Big play for Jacksonville.
Well, the Jags are a 2-19. Mike Mularkey says, let's just go for it. A little bit outside of the field goal range of Scobie. Penny from the shotgun. Near side, incomplete. In and out of the hands of Mercedes Lewis, who attempted to make that lunging catch. Ryan Scott on the coverage, and Buffalo taking over on downs when we come back. Bills tackle Chris Hairston being carted into the Buffalo locker room. We'll try to get an update. They've got his right shoe off. Looking at that foot and ankle area. So 1st and 10, Ryan Fitzpatrick up comfortably now by 2 touchdowns. 7 minutes to play in the third. After Jacksonville had taken a 3-point lead in the second quarter. Get coverage of every game while on the go this holiday season with NFL Mobile. Watch every touchdown from Sunday afternoon games with NFL Red Zone for $5 per month. Just call ** NFL to download or visit them online at NFL.com/mobile.
51.
Ryan Fitzpatrick under center. 7 of 15 today, just over 100 yards passing. There's a first down run by Jackson across midfield. Inside Jaguars territory, tackled by Posluszny. And you see the former Bill kind of clutching at his right hamstring at the end of that play. 9-yard run by Jackson.
Well, he's doing what he's doing, though. Taking it off that left side behind the tight end, Scott Chandler. Pushing the ball up in there. And just, he's the totally different kind of running back than C.J. Spiller. There is not a lot of bounce to him. There's not a lot of flash. It's just make a decision, one cut, get what you can get, and make some people pay the price on the other side.
Now Jackson found the fountain of youth last year. The second highest rushing total in the season of his 6-year career. Buffalo keeping it on the ground here. You know, a lot of talk, Steve, about how they've utilized C.J. Spiller. You know, last week he was on the sidelines for long stretches as that game went down the stretch. But Fred Jackson is a weapon that Chan Gailey wants to utilize, and he has, and it's tough sometimes to find a spot for both players.
Well, I think it's a problem that Chan Gailey really likes, if there is such a thing. I mean, you got 2 running backs who are so different that kind of feed off each other, that you can do different things with. And at C.J. Spiller, he's not going to produce if you give him that 25 to 30 carries. He just can't take that kind of beating.
Jackson on 2nd and 5. Need to get to about the 38, and Jackson just keeps those legs churning. And Buffalo with another first down. For the fans, you kind of say, well, look, Spiller's averaging almost 7 yards a rush. Why don't you give it to him another 10 times per game? But it doesn't usually work out that way.
And Chan Gailey said, you know, if we give it to him 14, 15 times, he gets 100 yards. Well, you give it to him 25, 30 times, that should equate to 200 yards, right? Well, no, it doesn't work that way. You got to get the ball to him when he's fresh in the right positions in the right way. That's what makes him so big play oriented.
Jackson, the workhorse here, lowering his shoulders across the 35. Jackson putting together slowly here a solid day at 65 yards.
Yeah, you see the slip screen right there. Both these running backs are very versatile. You can get him the ball through the air or hand it to him on the ground. And Fred Jackson, really a much more physical style running back right there, but that does not mean he's not athletic. You saw him get underneath the decapitation attempt by one of the Jacksonville defenders right there, but he is a very confident and very competent running back in this league. A lot of teams would love to have Fred Jackson on their football team.
5 rushes, now 6 rushes. Jackson over 42 yards on this drive alone. It'll set up a 3rd down coming up here as we come up on 3 minutes to play. Now Stevie Johnson being escorted into the Buffalo locker room. You always worry about injuries in this kind of weather. It's been raining all day. The wind has been a factor. Johnson with a touchdown reception earlier in the quarter to push the lead to 14 points. We'll try to get an update as quickly as possible. 3rd and 4. Fred Jackson in the slot now at the top of your picture. They find him on a screen pass, but Jackson dumped for a loss by Posluszny. So Jacksonville's defense holds.
Chan Gailey's got another decision to make here. We're looking at 4th and 5. You see Paul Paz-Leslie on the left-hand side, number 51, making the good break on the ball. Tackling Fred Jackson for no gain. Looks like Changei's going to punt it in this situation. Oh, no, excuse me. They're going for the 50-yard field goal.
So here's Ryan Lindell. Steve, what about this decision?
Well, it looks as though the conditions have calmed down. The flags aren't blowing nearly as hard now, and it's not rain coming down. And Lindell's a pretty darn good kicker, and he makes Changea look smart there.
Ryan Lindell from 50 yards out, and Buffalo by 17.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Get to a better state with a discount double check.
Back with you in Buffalo. The Bills getting a 50-yard field goal from that man, Ryan Lindell. And suddenly lead by 17 points here. Quan Cosby signals for the fair catch. So can Jacksonville keep it together here and get themselves within striking distance, down 17? Well, Buffalo able to tack on 3 more, so 27-10. Now a comfortable lead over Jacksonville, 2:14 to play, third quarter. Rashad Jennings, Jacksonville starting running back today, down with a head injury. So Montel Owens on the field, incomplete. And he just has not been able to locate Mercedes Lewis with much success in this game. Well, no one knows the game quite like a quarterback, or so they say. Break down all the NFL action on NFL Monday QB tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern, only on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Most quarterbacks know what they're talking about.
I hear those 3 in particular are really sharp.
Steve Berline in studio. Adam Schein will be the host as they'll weigh in on everything Week 13 in the NFL. Cecil Shorts on the catch, forced out of bounds just inside the 30 by Ron Brooks.
Well, this is the point in the ball game where Jacksonville needs to stand up, dig down. You know, Chad Henne, he's the right guy in there, I believe, for this team. Mike Mularkey, I think, believes that. He's not going to get rattled. He's got to convince his troops, hey, hang in there, put a good drive together, get on the board. A touchdown would be great. We'll get right back in this ball game.
3rd and 1. They spot it at the 29. Draw play, but interesting play call there. Montel Owens dumped right after the handoff. Jacksonville going conservative.
Well, Denoris Searcy was like shot out of a cannon. You see right there, number 25. He reads it, shoots in the gap, and just waiting for Montel Owens. I think the element of surprise was Mike Mularkey's intent right there, thinking that given the situation, Buffalo will be looking for pass, but Denoris Searcy was looking to run all the way. Montel Owens found out the hard way.
Marquez whistle the play
Start,
dead.
number 57 offense for a kicking team. 5-yard penalty remains, 4th down.
It's Julian Stanford. So 57 seconds to play in the quarter.
Well, it has not been a real sharp performance at this point by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Just, they seem to be a little bit off kilter here, and they still have a little bit of, they have enough time on the clock to get back into it, but they need to start it up pretty quick.
The Jaguars certainly came in off the best 2-game stretch of the season. Really pulled off that shocking upset at Houston 2 weeks ago. Able to knock off Tennessee last Sunday, but so far down 17. Wednesday on CBS, LL Cool J and Taylor Swift hosting the Grammy nominations concert. Live performances from music's biggest stars Wednesday, only CBS. Spiro Dedes, Steve Berline, our entire CBS crew with you from Western New York today. Quarterback matchup. Montel Owens now the featured running back after Rashad Jennings went down earlier in the second quarter with a head injury, will not return. Of course, no Maurice Jones-Drew. Out of 6 consecutive games with that foot injury. First and 10, Fitzpatrick to Spiller. Update on Stevie Johnson, a tweaked hamstring. So they're looking at him, Steve, in the Buffalo locker room. He was when it happened 2 drives ago for Buffalo.
You see him kind of pull up there, and then he knows something happened. And as he gets up, you see him kind of start hopping. And I think Chan Gailey, with the game going the way it's going, he just said, you know, we got to have number 13 for our stretch run. If we can get through the rest of this game without having to use him, that'd be definitely preferable.
It's the end of the third quarter. Buffalo by 17 points on CBS. Start of the fourth quarter here at Ralph Wilson Stadium. Buffalo trailed 10-7 in the second quarter. Since that point, they've scored 20 straight points to take a 27-10 lead with 15 minutes remaining. And a game that is an absolute must-win for Buffalo. Second and 10, they spotted here at 37. Fitzpatrick finding Brad Smith. Buffalo has the first down. Buffalo at 4-7 coming into today. Steve, you wondered how they would respond after the very disappointing finish at the Colts last Sunday, a team that they're chasing for that wild card. There they are at the bottom of your screen. And as Chan Gailey told us, really in a must-win situation for these final 5 weeks.
No, there's no doubt about it. If you lose one more game, I don't know mathematically what that means, but if you lose one more game, you can start packing up for the winner for sure.
It's a very winnable schedule from here on out. Jackson takes on a tackler at the 45. DeJuan Landry on the stop.
Jason Babin came flying in late there. Fans wanted a little bit of a late hit, but it was kind of an incidental thing. Jason Babin was just pursuing to the football. No way he could really avoid it. He got a little bit of an elbow there to the back of the head.
Boy, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
There's no penalty. We've seen markers thrown for way less than that.
Yeah, Jason Babin, his effort is never questioned, but sometimes his intentions have been over the years.
Second and 3, Jackson to the outside, make it Spiller to the 20, to the 10, end zone, touchdown. C.J. Spiller with an electrifying run from 44 yards. And Buffalo putting this game away early in the fourth.
And that is what makes C.J. Spiller. You don't think it's much. Runs designed to go to the right side. We see this on film every single week where he's got that presence to shuffle himself back to the backside. And once he senses there's an opportunity, the ability to accelerate and get to that goal line is as impressive as anything you're going to see on a football field.
C.J. Spiller coming forth with the best season of his career. Year 3 for him in the NFL. And he hits the home run ball one more time for Chan Gailey. Spiller from 44, and Buffalo up 34-10. Well, C.J. Spiller approaching 1,000 yards on the year, 44-yard burst, and Buffalo up by 24 early here in the fourth. See the scoring possession, as Buffalo now has scored 27 unanswered points after Jacksonville led 10-7 back in the second quarter. Quan Cosby from his own end zone takes a hard hit right at the 15. Corey McIntyre on a hard smack as we take another look at Spiller's long run.
Well, there's two guys that got to protect the edge. Right here, you got Jeremy Mincy, and here's Chris Persinski. They're supposed to protect the edge. What ends up happening when C.J. Spiller takes it to the right side, they get caved down. Spiller bounces it outside, and they cannot get to the edge to support. Right there, you see Persinski committed, Mincy committed, and Spiller's gone. That's how it happens.
So here's Chad Henne. Works from the shotgun. Montel Owens, the seventh-year player out of Maine. He's been a Pro Bowler a couple of years. Jacksonville, Steve came here hoping for a second straight win, something to kind of build on here late, what has been really, a down year. A lot of decisions that they'll have to make in the offseason with 4 games left after today. None bigger than what to do long-term at the quarterback position. As Henne's throw for shorts incomplete. And now late marker thrown. Backside official signaling holding.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Well, it's got to be on Cresden Butler. Third-year player at a Clemson. He makes the break on the football, yet just, it may not seem like much when you're watching it, but when you pull on the receiver's shoulder, you're kind of catapulting yourself. You're switching positions with them. That allows you to get inside and make that play. Good call.
Owens, the lone setback after the penalty, 1st and 10. That's Jordan Shipley. Last week making his Jacksonville debut as we head back to New York and an update with JB.
Cutler and Forte.
Matt Forte lined up here at the bottom of the screen as a wide receiver, slant pattern, down to the 1-yard line. Lovie Smith asked for a replay. It was a touchdown. 14-10 Bears.
Spiro.
JB, thanks. Shipley with a second straight reception. Shipley signed last week with the injuries that Jacksonville has had to deal with at the wide receiver position. Suddenly thrust into a backup spot as number 4 before their game last week. But a first down catch here gives him a 1st and 10 from just inside the 40. Then he kind of pulled it back right at the last minute and is sacked. Alex Carrington, who's had a huge day for the Buffalo defense. Also Sean Merriman, a former All-Pro defensive star, as they dump him for a loss of 6.
Yeah, there are 3 guys in there. It was Carrington, and you see Merriman right there. Happy to be back on the football field.
2nd and 16, Henne again unable to follow through. Contact on a release. Jordan Shipley, the intended receiver. Another look at the sack.
Yeah, it looks like the ball actually slipped out of his hand as he tried to pull it down. And fortunate enough to get back on that football.
Buffalo faithful braving the elements here. Bills trying to put this one on ice early. 3rd and 16. Henne to Shorts. Needs to get to the 50. He's well short. George Wilson, a strong safety on the stop. Clock continues to run. We come up on 11 minutes remaining.
And Jacksonville punt here on 4th and 7. But it's amazing how quickly a game can change, Spiro. As you said, Jacksonville had the lead 10-7. They scored a quick 10 points at the end of the first half, then a touchdown to open the second half, and next thing you know, Buffalo's in complete control.
Now Chad Henne basically auditioning for the long-term starting quarterback position of the Jaguars. A fumble on the play. Jacksonville has it. Touchdown. Antoine Blake on the recovery. And that'll throw a shock along that Bills sideline, at least for a moment. Justin Rogers just fumbling this punt. And Jacksonville showing a heartbeat.
Ruling on the field is the ball, the punted ball was bumped and recovered by a member of the kicking team. First down. But
well, that's an interesting ruling. I would think that Jacksonville was thinking maybe they scored, as a lot of people watching the game at home are probably thinking, but by rule you cannot advance a muff punt.
So after the penalty, they punch it in anyway through the airways. Cecil Shorts from Chad Henne. So they'll get to 6. Had to wait an extra play. Injured Buffalo defender on the field. So the fumble by Rodgers looming large here for the moment. 10:47 to play in the fourth quarter.
But just a nice route by Cecil Shorts, and saw Brooks try to cover right there, but as he dove extended for that football, it looked like he hurt something. He was fully extended. You might think it's a shoulder, or I hate to speculate on what the injury is, but they're looking at his upper body. There was no head-to-head contact, so
Buffalo trainers onto the field after Shorts scores the touchdown.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Samsung Galaxy Note 2. The next big thing is here. Zales, the Diamond Store. Let love shine. And by the all-new Dodge Dart. Dodge, new rules.
Chad Henne and Jacksonville will try to go for two here. Down 34-16 after the Cecil Shorts touchdown grab. Taped by Owens, and he's in. So they'll tack on two and cut it to 16 points. Off the bumped punt, Jacksonville to Cecil Shorts for 6, and then Montel Owens for the deuce. Justin Rogers on the right of your picture, forced to field punts with the injured Leotis McKelvin unavailable. McKelvin leaving the game in the first half with a back injury. Cecil Shorts on the short touchdown reception from Henne. Montel Owens converting a two-point conversion, and that's where we stand here, 34-18 here, with 10:47 remaining in the fourth. Saturday, the Home Depot College Football on CBS puts on one of the grandest spectacles in all of sports. It's all guts, all grit, all glory. Army-Navy starting with college football today, and a big one this year. The winner taking home the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, and that coveted piece of hardware hanging in the balance. And a game you can see right here, only on CBS.
And that does usually include a trip to the White House for the winner of that trophy. I've had the privilege of doing several of these academy football games involving all three, Air Force, Army, and Navy, and that trophy means an awful lot to those young men.
Well, we certainly will be watching on Saturday. Jacksonville's defense onto the field here, first and 10. Buffalo among the better run teams in the NFL, Steve, with that two-headed monster, Spiller and Jackson.
Yeah, they average over 140 yards a game, which is definitely toward the top of the NFL. But the two-headed monster, we talked about it in the open. I really felt that with the way this day is shaped up weather-wise, that we'd see both Fred Jackson and C.J. Spiller. You got thunder and lightning. Fred Jackson being the thunder, the pounder up inside, and C.J. Spiller, the one that can strike quick from anywhere in the field. They've both done their jobs very well today.
Buffalo fourth in the AFC in rush yards per game, 7th in the NFL. Jackson now over 80 yards on the ground. Spiller 76 on 13 rushes. You see the total yards. Spiller and Jackson about work the entire Jacksonville offense.
And Spiller on pace to possibly go over 100 yards total offense right now. He's got 76 yards rushing. And if he can get over 100 yards all-purpose, that would put him up for 4 games in a row. Actually, 7 games in a row, excuse me. To go over 100 yards all-purpose.
He's matched Thurman Thomas's 6-game run from the 1992-93 season.
Timeout, Buffalo.
As Buffalo will burn its second
timeout.
So 9:22 to play in the fourth. Buffalo by 16.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico, where 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Subway Restaurants. Get your own tender, juicy Subway steak melt today.
Buffalo 34, Jaguars 18. 9:22 to play. This is a 3rd and 3 here from the 27. A little pitch play to Spiller. Can't turn the corner. Needed to get to the 30, and so Buffalo will punt. Tackle made by Russell Allen and the cornerback Kevin Rutland.
Yeah, great job by Rutland and Allen right there, stringing the play out. Really nice job by Prasinski coming up and knocking that lead blocker out of the way, forcing C.J. Spiller to avoid that and try and pop it outside even further than he wanted to.
Sean Powell had a 61-yard punt earlier. Quan Cosby standing back deep at around his own 20.
Yeah, Buffalo up over 200 yards rushing today. That was one of the few times Jacksonville made a good stop in the second half.
Cosby signals fair catch at the 26. And that's where Chad Henne will take over, down 16 points. Take a look at hash marks and hashtags, trending topics around the NFL. We've touched on the injuries at running back for Jacksonville, some of the other marquee backs around the league. Darren McFadden missing the last 3 games with an ankle injury for Oakland. LaShawn McCoy will sit 2nd straight game as Philly plays out the string, and Rashard Mendenhall ineffective last week against Cleveland. Dealing with some of the same issues that Jacksonville has. No Maurice Jones-Drew for his 6th consecutive game. And he's pass underthrown, nearly picked by Gilmore. As we head to New York, JB and Boomer.
Boomer, let me give you room to explain this one.
Well, bad pitch by Colin Kaepernick to Ted Ginn. Janoris Jenkins going to fall on this football. It's going to go in for a touchdown. Remember last week, he had 2 interceptions returned for a touchdown. Pretty good rookie season for that young man. 2-point conversion was good. Game is tied, 10-10 between the 49ers and Rams.
Spiro and Steve.
Well, the Rams have played him tough. The second game that they played him tough this year. Oh, big hit.
Well, Cecil Shorts taking a vicious hit by Ron Brooks, the safety. Shorts being immediately tended to by the training staff.
And this was definitely a blow to the head. You could hear it, almost feel it all the way up here. And the question then becomes, you know, Cecil Shorts is down low, ducking his head, and that was a head-to-head shot. And that's exactly what the league is trying to crack down on. And Brooks coming over, playing aggressively. I think he might be hearing from the league on that one.
So Shorts, the touchdown catch just a few minutes ago. Looks like he's okay, able to stand up with the help of his trainers.
The question becomes, Spiro, was he considered to be a defenseless receiver in that situation? It's when the receiver is in defenseless position, a head-to-head blow is going to be literally...
Personal foul. Contact, unnecessary roughness, contact on the defenseless receiver. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Well, there you go.
So there we have it. Yeah, defenseless receiver. That was the only question I had, of whether they would determine that to be a defenseless receiver. I agree with the call. Now remember, I played 17 years in the league, and back when I played, that would never have been called. That was a good hit. But the way the rule is stated right now, I'm not saying that Brooks is intending to hurt Cecil Shorts, but by rule, that's a personal foul.
And suddenly, this is a 16-point game here. A couple of touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Still 8 minutes remaining. And Jacksonville has all 3 timeouts. And he just throws it away. So 2nd and 10 coming up.
No foul for intentional grounding the receiver in the area. The quarterback was out of the pocket.
Now coming up, time permitting, after the game, the NFL Today update presented by Farmers Insurance. JB, Dan Shannon, Boomer, and Coach Cowher in New York. They'll have all the latest NFL scores and highlights.
Well, Spiro, every play matters. That punt return that was muffed by Buffalo last series. That has given now Jacksonville new life. If they can score and make a two-point conversion here, we're one score away from a tie ball game.
Henny from his back foot, throwing to Kevin Elliott. Elliott with his first crab of the day. Clock continues to run, 7:39 remaining, 13 yards through the air. And a first down for Jacksonville.
And this is where things can get real interesting, because Jacksonville's now in their hurry-up mode, trying to get on the board as quickly as they can. It's become a wide-open football game. One bust on Buffalo's part, and it could be a quick score.
Henny on 1st and 10, a little slant over the middle to Blackman. And Justin Blackman has been held in check today by the rookie Stephon Gilmore.
That's a really good point, Spiro. We thought we'd be focusing on that matchup a little bit more, but the fact that we haven't says a lot about what Gilmore has done on the day, really not allowing Blackman to be a part of this football game. And Dave Wanstead, defensive coordinator for Buffalo, did tell us he really felt that Gilmore matched up well on Blackman. He was going to get physical on him all day.
Gilmore taking 10th overall, Blackman 5th. And Blackman so far just one reception for 9 yards. 2nd and 10, and he slings it middle, incomplete. Off the hands of Jordan Shipley. Tight coverage as a marker thrown by Jairus Byrd on the play. And this one a hold against Jacksonville. Looks to be Eugene Monroe.
Number 75 offense. 10-yard penalty remaining, 2nd down.
So Monroe, the 4th-year vet out of Virginia, whistled.
Well, you see Eugene Monroe, that was as much a slip as it was anything else. I understand why it happened. Sean Merriman trying to get up the field. That's the 8th penalty on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coming into this game, the least penalized team in the AFC, so not holding true to form today.
Richard Murphy onto the field. Murphy signed this week off their practice squad. Penalty makes it 2nd and 20, and now Chad Henne has to burn a timeout.
Timeout, Jacksonville. First team timeout. A 30-second timeout.
Jacksonville again just 2-9 coming in off their 2nd win of the year last Sunday against Tennessee. Down 16 points as we approach the latter stages of the 4th. Wednesday in primetime, JB, Phil Simms, and Chris Collinsworth showcase America's favorite game with their own unique style. Inside the NFL, Wednesday on Showtime. So 7:07 remaining. Jacksonville will have 2 timeouts remaining. This will be a 2nd and 20 play. It's been a much more vertical passing game, at least the last 2 with Henne, but so far he's been held in check by this Buffalo defense.
Well, we knew coming in with the conditions today it was going to be a very difficult situation throwing the ball. Henne, 14 of 32 for 156 yards. Fitzpatrick, 9 of 17, 112 with 2 touchdowns.
And now, as you can see, his top target, Cecil Shorts, jogging into the locker room. Henne on 2nd and 20, nowhere to throw. So they'll be faced with a 3rd and long here, as Henne was forced out by Brooks.
A lot of people might be wondering why Henne would slide there and keep the clock running. I think it was because he didn't think he had the speed to get to the sideline, and he didn't want to take a shot. It was a good chance he was going to get hit by Ron Brooks there at the end, although I do believe Brooks would have probably pulled up, especially given the fact that he was already called for 1 personal foul a few minutes ago.
3rd and 19 from the 50. And he completes to Owens inside the 40. First down marker is about at the 31. And this is certainly 4th down territory, so the offense will stay on the field.
And Spirit, it's the little things right there. That Montel Owens was wide open. And then that ball came out of Chad Henne's hand funny because of the conditions. There's been several that have scored it out. If Owens catches that ball on his feet, he had room to turn and run and quite possibly could have picked up the first down. Instead, they're looking now at a 4th and a long 8.
They're spotting on a quick snap from the 39. Henne going deep down the sideline. Incomplete. Off the hands of Blackman, and again, covered on the play by Stephon Gilmore.
Gilmore just shakes his head and says, not today. See right there, just, nothing fancy. Chad Henne, I see what he was trying to do, just try and give his big playmaker a chance to go up and get it. Jordan Shipley almost got there in time to make the tip reception. But Blackman, boy, based upon what he'd done the last couple weeks, I figured it'd be a very tough job for Gilmore to shut him down today. Blackman really gaining a lot of confidence with his big plays the last couple of weeks. 236 yards on 7 catches against Houston 2 weeks ago. Got to tip your hat to Gilmore.
Gilmore is only a rookie, Steve, as we've pointed out, but every week there he is defending the #1 wide receiver for the opposing team. They put so much responsibility on his shoulders because of how high they are on him. Here's Fred Jackson inside Jacksonville territory. Update on Cecil Shorts, a head injury, will not return, as they will be as cautious as possible with him. So 5:24 to play and counting. Buffalo appears to be heading to its 5th win of the season.
Now you see Fred Jackson approaching 100 yards on the day. There was somebody that I know that actually had him picked as a sleeper today as a fantasy football pick. I
got to say, you've been on point with your fantasy predictions. You had Dante Rosario in that 3-touchdown game for the Chargers early.
Yeah, haven't heard from him since.
I'll call you before the next big lottery numbers come out. It's Fred Jackson on first down and 10, trying to go over center. So Buffalo will go to 5-7. Jacksonville will fall to 2-10. And again, we talked about the strength of schedule, Steve, for Buffalo over these final 4 or 5 weeks of the season. Entering today, they had the 3rd easiest remaining schedule from here on out. That included this one today. Only one more road game for Chan Gailey's Bills. That'll be in Miami on December the 23rd.
Well, Chan Gailey, he still sees a little bit more time on that clock than he'd like to see, but for all intents and purposes, looks like Buffalo's going to complete the first step of their 5-step journey by winning this football game.
Jackson buried in the backfield. As Jackson is right at that century mark now, 20 rushes, 98 yards. C.J. Spiller with 77. As Chan Gailey called all the right plays after he was under fire this week for some of the decisions in that disappointing loss at the Colts last Sunday.
Publicly under fire, yes, exactly right. But Stevie Johnson, more than anything, as you said earlier, Spiro, just lending his support for Ryan Fitzpatrick and his ability to maybe see and identify things on the field. That's all Stevie Johnson was trying to emphasize.
Jackson trying to find the edge. Brutal stiff arm on the play against the rookie Mike Harris as Jackson gets out of bounds. We're told that Bill center Eric Wood has been taken into the locker room.
There's been more
looking
players.
At Wood's knee.
Looking at his knee. There's been more players carted off or taken off the field today than I can remember in any football game, recent memory for me. It seems as though each team has had 4 or 5 guys carted off, and you see Fred Jackson broke 100 yards right there. Happy for that young man. It's been a rough season injury-wise and playing time-wise.
Sean Powell on the punt. Their catch signaled by Cosby inside the 15. And that's where Jacksonville will take over with 3:08 remaining in this 4th quarter. Coming up, still plenty of action around the NFL on this Week 13 Sunday. Action continues on the back end of our CBS doubleheader. The Steelers and the Ravens in a tough AFC North battle. Bengals, Chargers, or some of you will see the Browns and the Raiders. Check your local listings on CBS.
So Jacksonville needs to be thinking quick score here to have any chance whatsoever.
And he's pass caught by Kevin Elliott, the rookie out of Florida A&M. Undrafted, 23 years of age. Forced out of bounds by Brooks. after a pickup of 11 and a Jacksonville first down.
Hard to gauge, you know, when you look at what Chad Henne's done today. Hard to gauge whether today really would count against him. I think he has not played glaringly poorly, just really tough conditions. Buffalo made some big plays middle of the game. That's the difference.
Nearly a one-handed catch and a late marker thrown. And that in the vicinity of interference. Stephon Gilmore can't believe it.
Yeah, I really can't believe that either. If they're calling pass interference on Gilmore, I want to see that again.
Pass interference, number 27 defense, automatic first down.
Steve asked, and you shall receive. Here's another look at it.
Let's see if there's anything up the field going on there. There's an arm bar there a little bit. You know what? I'm an offensive biased person, obviously, and those defensive players, they try to pin those arms any way they can. I think that was actually a good call. Not obvious to the viewers here in the stadium, but he definitely was trying to pin Blackman's arm.
So the penalty keeps the Jacksonville drive going, gives him a boost, but Henne is sacked. And what a day for Alex Carrington. He has been around the football right from the opening kick. Carrington, the third-year vet, the former third-round pick out of Arkansas State, dumping Henne for a loss of 8.
He really has been impressive today. I mean, you come in here with Kyle Williams and Marcel Darius. Those are the two inside linemen that you're thinking about talking about. Carrington's kind of stole the show.
What a catch on the play. Lewis as Henne threading the needle to the tight end. That's a big pass play and a Jacksonville first down as they pick up 24 yards through the air.
Well, this ball could very easily have been intercepted by Brian Scott. Instead, Jacksonville comes out with a big play.
Jaguars still have 2 timeouts. They've got the 2-minute warning as well. Henne hit as he throws. Incomplete, batted down by Brooks. Sean Merriman was right there making contact, Steve, with Henne right at the release point.
You're exactly right. Sean Merriman definitely said hello to Chad Henne on that one. Good little tug there by Brooks as well on the jersey. You see that jersey get extended a little bit, Elliott? Ron Brooks got away with one there.
So 2nd and 18. They spotted here from the Buffalo 32. Henne going sideline to Shipley. Able to get out of bounds. And with that, we reach the 2-minute warning here in a 16-point game favoring Buffalo. Jacksonville hoping for a touchdown here and a 2-point conversion to make it a 1-possession game. 3rd and 5 from the 27. And he thrown down the sideline, incomplete. Intended target Kevin Elliott. And boy, have they targeted Ron Brooks, it seems like, on every pass.
Well, Elliott beat him off the ball here. That's a win up the field. I think Chad Henne, if he lays that one over the top, it's a quarterback's decision. If the quarterback sees the receiver not in an advantageous position, in other words, the defensive back is over the top, that's when the back shoulder throw comes into play. But if the receiver gets over the top of the defender, that's where you lay it out in front of him. I think Henne had a chance to hit Elliott on that one.
One last gasp for the Jaguars on 4th and 5. Henne's pass deflected, and Buffalo gets it back. Frustrating end for Chad Henne. Alex Carrington getting high fives off the field. What a day he's played.
That's a good word for it, though, Spiro. It's a frustrating day for Chad Henne. I think Carrington might be the one that did tip it. There you go. Just another stat for him on the day. What an impressive day by that young man. 3rd-year player out of Arkansas State. Trying to make a name for himself in a group of interior defensive linemen that really are considered one of the very best in the NFL. He was a standout today by far.
Well, they finally made that free agent splash that Buffalo fans have been hoping for and waiting for years here. General Manager Buddy Nix just basically rebuilding the roster over the past couple of years, shedding some bad contracts. Disappointing season for Buffalo, but they'll get a much-needed win here. Jacksonville will take its second timeout.
And the question is for Buffalo is it too little too late? This team is now starting to play defensively like they had expected to play going into the season. Mario Williams is healthy. They're playing much better across the board. I think Dave Wanstead really believes that this defense is playing the way that they were capable of playing these last 4 games. Is it too late, though? Is it too late? Well, we're going to find out. Buffalo happy to take the first step, as we said. And they'll go on to phase 2 of this plan next week.
Mario Williams following up his 3-sack performance last Sunday with a strip sack. That was a really turning point play, Steve pointed out, late in the first half. Buffalo was able to capitalize and has owned this game from that point. Jacksonville will take their final couple of timeouts here. Mike Mularkey is still trying to keep his guys engaged as Mike Mularkey makes his emotional return to Buffalo today. Take a look at the remaining 4 games on the schedule for Jacksonville. Again, Maurice Jones-Drew still a week, probably a couple of weeks away from making a return.
Well, that pre-Christmas game there on the 23rd is the one that stands out. Tom Brady coming down to Jacksonville. The other 3, I think Mike Mularkey would look at and say, hey, we can go into each one of those games expecting to win. The way Tom Brady has got that New England Patriots team playing, though, I picked about 4 weeks ago on our Monday NFL quarterback show that New England would be the representative for the AFC of the Super Bowl. I'm sticking by it. We'll see.
This is 3rd and 6. Jackson needing to get to the 37 is short. Jaguars will take their final timeout. Tyson Alualu on the stop. We talked about some of the big decisions after the season. Still a ways to go for Jacksonville, but there's new ownership. Shad Khan purchasing the team from Wayne Weaver. And Khan, who is here, by the way, in Buffalo making the trip. Mike Mularkey talking about the bond he's built with his owner, who usually is traveling the world. He says he doesn't know what time zone he's in sometimes, but whenever he calls him, if he doesn't get him right away, he always calls back within a few minutes. But Shad Khan, a very engaged owner who is really committed to turning this thing around in Jacksonville.
And a lot of speculation about the possibilities for Jacksonville, whether Shad Khan would consider moving the team. They've entered into the agreement where they're going to play games over the next several years over in London. Very similar to what Buffalo's doing here with their game in a couple weeks in Toronto.
Right. At least for the moment, Shad Khan says that he is committed to Jacksonville for the long term. Got a long lease with their stadium down in Jacksonville. The big decision, of course, at the quarterback position. As Quan Cosby stands back at his own 20. Cosby from about the 21. Hard block. As Cosby gets out to the 35.
Brought down by Warren McIntyre.
But it has been all Buffalo since late in the second quarter.
Yeah, as you said, Spiro, I think that strip sack fumble for Mario Williams is a key. Jacksonville did not go down easily, though. They've continued to compete and fight. 2 late touchdowns here, but just not enough. That little stretch at the end of the first half with 10 points right before the half, and then the first score of the second half really just established complete control of the game for Buffalo. Mike Mularkey knows it. Everybody knows it.
1st and 10 for Henne. It's intercepted. Jairus Byrd with the pick. Byrd looking for yardage inside the 40. Still on his feet to the 30, to the 20. Byrd breaking a tackle. Not wanting to go down. He's finally brought down. Eugene Monroe, the big tackle, having to bring him down.
Well, coming into the game, Byrd had 4 interceptions, which was the lead in the AFC. That's his 5th on the season, 18th career interception. This guy truly is a ball hawk. I remember his rookie year, I think he had 9 or 10 interceptions, made it to the Pro Bowl, has a nose for the football. He's a converted corner, the son of Gil Byrd, who was a great NFL player. I played against him for many years. Was a cornerback, and his son carrying on the family tradition. He knows how to make plays on that football.
Well, Jairus Byrd having a Pro Bowl type year. Reports this week in the Buffalo newspapers that his agents are negotiating a contract extension, something that Byrd said was news to him. And his 5th pick of the year, as Steve points out, and that puts this game on ice for Buffalo. So Chan Gailey and company go to 5-7. Jacksonville falling to 2-10 as Buffalo scores a 16-point home win. And so your final score, Buffalo 34, Jacksonville 18. For Steve Berline, Spiro Dini saying so long from Buffalo.